Around Via dei Mercanti, Salerno's historic center is made of narrow pedestrian lanes, stone paving, tight corners, short alleys, and covered passages built for foot traffic. Via dei Mercanti is the old commercial spine of the city and was known around the year 1000 as draperia, linked to cloth and merchant activity. At Via Mercanti 74 you can enter the Museo Virtuale della Scuola Medica Salernitana, set inside the former church of San Gregorio. From the street it blends into the old buildings, but inside it works as a modern, virtual museum, using digital exhibits inside a historic church hall. From the Museo Virtuale on Via dei Mercanti, the route to Via Duomo runs through the old town's narrow pedestrian lanes, short corridors, steps, and tight corners that connect the commercial spine to the Cathedral Street network. Along the way, some walls carry modern political-style murals and slogans, using the same historic surfaces as informal public message boards before you emerge into the larger space around the Duomo. At Salerno's Duomo, also called Cathedral of San Matteo, the tall tower you see beside the church is the campanile, meaning bell tower, attached to the cathedral complex on the south side. It belongs to the medieval rebuilding of Salerno in the Norman period, a solid vertical shaft rising from the dense historic center lanes, designed to be visible above the surrounding houses. The tower is often described as part of the Arab-Norman/Byzantine-Norman architectural mix found in southern Italy in the 11th to 12th centuries, and it incorporates spolia, older reused stone elements, consistent with how many medieval complexes in the region were built and decorated. Inside the cathedral complex you enter a quattroportico atrium, a square courtyard that acts as a transition between the city and the church. The large green door is the famous bronze portal, cast in Constantinople in 1099 and brought to Salerno, one of the clearest signs of the city's medieval connections across the Mediterranean. At the center of the courtyard stands a stone fountain, cantharus, traditionally used for ritual washing, positioned on the main axis of the space. The atrium is framed by 28 reused Roman columns, supporting round arches and showing how ancient material was incorporated into the medieval structure. From this courtyard, you pass through the exit doors and stairs that lead up into the cathedral interior, while other routes branch toward the crypt and adjacent historic rooms, making the atrium the central hub of movement within the Duomo. This interior space belongs to the Cathedral of St. Matthew, Duomo di Salerno, and is part of its crypt and commemorative galleries, areas closely connected to the cathedral's role as the seat of the archdiocese. What you see here is a memorial corridor lined with marble and stone plaques dedicated to former archbishops of Salerno. The inscriptions are written in Latin, recording names, ecclesiastical titles, and dates of death, following a tradition common in major Italian cathedrals from the 17th to 19th centuries. These plaques served both as burial markers and as historical records of episcopal succession. The walls are faced with warm-toned stone and marble, while the floor uses geometric marble patterns, typical of post-medieval renovations meant to bring visual order and dignity to sacred spaces. The oval relief portrait mounted on the wall represents an archbishop in clerical dress, a sculptural form used to individualize remembrance rather than depicting full statues. This area functions less as a nave for worship and more as a transitional and commemorative space, connecting the main church, the crypt of St. Matthew the Apostle, and adjacent chapels. It reflects the cathedral's dual role. Not only a place of prayer, but also a repository of institutional memory, preserving the lineage and authority of the Church in Salerno across centuries. The Museo Diocesano San Matteo in Salerno houses artworks and liturgical objects from the cathedral and surrounding churches, dating from the Middle Ages to the Baroque period. It preserves sculptures, manuscripts, ivories, and reliquaries that document the religious, artistic, and administrative history of the Archdiocese of Salerno. The Church of San Giorgio in Salerno is located along Via Duomo and dates back to the early medieval period, later transformed in the 17th century into one of the city's finest examples of Baroque architecture. Inside, the church is richly decorated with gilded stuccos, frescoes, and painted ceilings, most notably the large ceiling painting depicting St. George slaying the dragon, which defines the dramatic and theatrical interior. Sala San Lazzaro itself was part of the network linked to the Scuola Medica Salernitana, the first and most important medical school of medieval Europe, active from the 9th to the 13th centuries. Today, the nearby Medical School Hub Museum uses exhibits, documents, and multimedia installations to explain how Salerno became a center of medical knowledge, where Greek, Roman, Arab, and Jewish traditions were studied, translated, and taught. The clock tower along Via Roma marks the transition between Salerno's historic core and its seafront promenade, acting as a quiet urban landmark rather than a monumental one. Installed in the late 19th to early 20th century during the city's modernization, it reflects the period when Salerno expanded beyond its medieval walls toward the coast, linking timekeeping with civic order and daily life. From here, the walk naturally concludes. Medieval streets, churches, medical knowledge, and civic spaces all flow toward the open sea. Via Roma and its clock tower summarize Salerno itself, a city where layers of history remain visible, but always oriented forward, toward the light and the water.